Hey, what is up, you guys? Hello. Hey, Barbara. Glad you could join. Hey, nobody. What's up, Katie? I'm glad you're here. Nikki. Nikki, what's up, Nikki? Hey, Hope. Hey, Losh. Glad you guys could join. Cloud Strife. My favorite Final Fantasy character. What's up, Cloud? Hey, Hope. You gonna try not to fall asleep? Good. I hope you don't fall asleep too. You've been awake for over 24 hours. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? Uh, uh okay. Let's do this. I have some snacks. Yeah, have you guys heard about the recent wave of like anti-Asian violence in the United States? Yeah. I think the rate of anti-Asian hate has increased 150% this year. Something like that. Yeah, and probably a lot of it is due to the coronavirus. Yeah. So if you have any Asian friends, don't hate on them, and check up on them, see how they're doing. I haven't been affected, yeah, but I haven't been out of the house that many times. Yeah, I only go out for groceries and stuff. But yeah. Where is John? I don't know who John is. What do you mean? What's up, Coat? Geeky CA. Hello, Geeky. Oh yeah, we're almost at 200k subs. That was quick. Yeah, we're at what are we at? Like 195 or something like that? Almost there. Have I watched Naruto? I love that anime. Okay. I haven't okay. I haven't finished I haven't finished the anime. So even though it's my favorite. No wait, no, I'm sorry. I haven't finished the manga. I've finished the anime. Yeah. But I love it, of course. What do you mean? What's up, Asian man? I'm glad you're here. It's a friend you made in the last live you were in. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know who John is. Hey, John, speak up, John. Canada is way nicer. I'm sure they are. 198k? All right. Oh my god. 2,000 more. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, just click it. Click it. Get us up to 200k. I look like your dad but with no facial hair. Is that good or is that bad? Was that a compliment? Or did you just insult your dad? Oh, the manga Vagabond. I have read it. I don't read a lot of manga and I don't watch a lot of anime, but I read Vagabond long time ago, right? I didn't read it. I think I read the first volume or something. Like I stopped at some point early on. But yeah, that looked good. Maybe I should continue it. What's up, Empress Mermaid? Give Empress Mermaid a lot of love. She's been a long time patron. Have I watched Gintama? Nope. If you're talking about a new anime, I haven't watched it, except for Attack on Titan. Don't give me any spoilers, okay? I know the last season is still going. The final season is still going, so I want it to finish before I start watching the whole thing. Okay, it's gonna be fun. Is it just you, or am I better looking now? Well, I've always been good looking. What do you mean? What do you mean? All right. So snack for today is, look at this. Onion rings. All right. And apparently it's baked, never fried. So we know it's healthy. Let's take a break to enjoy the crispy crunch of Calbee onion rings. You don't know Calbee makes a lot of snacks. Yeah. Alright, let's not look at the sodium content on the nutrition facts. This is a lot. Let's see how this tastes. Is it gonna be like Funyuns? Okay. Apparently I need to work out because I can't open this. Ooh. Alright. Let's compare it to Funyuns to see if it's better or worse. It has a stronger smell, a stronger onion smell than Funyuns. Oh, I think it's gonna be a lot more flavorful. See it? See it? Yeah. Okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. If you've eaten Funyuns, this is so Funyuns is very salty. Yeah, it does have the onion taste, but I feel like for Funyuns, there's more of a salty taste, and for this one, it's less of a salty taste. Yeah, they put less salt. So there's more of that onion flavor that comes out, and it's really good. Not bad. What's up, Orava? All right. Give me a second. Healthier Funyuns, huh? Maybe. It is baked. Oh, you like that bag ASMR? Oh, how about this? How about I just do this for the rest of the stream? I don't know. Oh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you like that, huh? Which snack tastes like tanuki balls? I haven't had a snack that tasted like that. Not that I know what that tastes like. I mean, what? All right. So, it's gonna be a long chapter today. So let's get started. All right. What happened last time? Right. What happened in the last chapter? Our hero Ling Hu Chong was, he was fighting with this guy who was imprisoned. Right. Remember, if you remember, and his name was Ren Walxing, and he called him Mr. Ren. And he was fighting it, and then after Mr. Ren gave this like banshee scream, right? He just fell unconscious. And when he woke up, he is chained inside a jail cell, right? And it turns out to be the same jail cell that Mr. Ren was in. And he doesn't know what's going on, right? Doesn't know what's going on. And he thinks that, oh God, the four playfellows, the wardens of that prison has trapped him, right? So he's in the cell. He's cursing the four playfellows, and he's having a really bad time. And then one day he finds out that on the floor there's this steel plate that has some writings on it, and it turns out to be writings that described some kind of martial arts technique. All right, so he has nothing to do in the jail cell, so he's just reading this. He's just absent-mindedly reading the writing. So he's reading this martial arts technique, and he didn't really intend to train, but he's just he just kept on reading it, but because he keeps on reading it, it's like engraved into his mind. So when he's sleeping, he's dreaming about it, right? And he's unwittingly training this martial arts technique. And then we find out he gets a visit from one of the playfellows, a Mr. Blackwhite, and Mr. Blackwhite thinks he's Mr. Run, right? He thinks so. It's kind of weird. We don't know. We don't understand what happened. And so this Mr. Blackwhite has been coming every 2 months to ask him to teach him his powerful martial arts technique in return for freedom, right? And he's been coming in secret. The other brothers don't know. And Ling Huchong kind of leads him on. Okay? By this point, Ling Huchong doesn't trust the 4 playfellows. So he leads him on. And one day, he accidentally grabs the arm through the door of the prison, right? Through the door of the jail cell. Grabs this guy's arm, and he accidentally sucks all of his chi, all of his energy through his hand, right? So it seems like that's the martial arts technique that he just learned, all right? Okay, you can suck someone's chi energy and absorb it and make it your own. So, and so Mr. Blackwhite is like all weak and emaciated, and he's like a thin, emaciated man after all this, right? And Ling Huchong, and it seems like Ling Huchong has been cured of his fatal disease. You know, all the 8 chi energy streams inside his body. Seems like he's been cured. So he escapes. While he's escaping, he runs into the other 3 brothers of the 4 playfellows, but he escapes really easily. Okay, because right now he's super powerful, and he runs away, and that's what happened in the last chapter. How's that? Do 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 do. What was there a spammer? No, I don't think he's doing that anymore. Losh says maybe you need to sleep on a plate with all the calculus rules engraved. Yeah, maybe this is how it works, right? Just engrave something you want to learn onto a steel plate and then fall asleep on it. Works for Ling Huchong. All right. Let's go into the story. All right. Let's go. Chapter 22. Out of Trouble. I remember, so Ling Huchong has escaped. Ling Huchong sadly stood still for a long time, until the moon was directly above his head. The night was still, and he pondered over the events that occurred at the Plum Manor. He decided to go back to the manor to understand what had happened, and also to rescue Senior Ren if he was not a bad person. So he still thinks that Mr. Ren is still in the prison somewhere, okay, just in another jail cell. Having decided upon this course of action, he started his journey back to the Plum Manor. He went up Mount Gu and approached the Plum Manor through the forest surrounding it. He listened for sounds inside the manor, and after a while, having heard no sound, he lightly jumped over the fence onto the manor's grounds. All the 10 or more rooms inside the manor were shrouded in darkness. However, there was one window on his right with lights from inside the room. He silently walked across the ground and crouched underneath that window. From inside the room, he heard the voice of a person. The voice sounded very strict. "Mr. Hongjong, do you know your crime?" Ling Huchong was surprised. He wondered what Mr. Hongzhong's position was in this manner, when there was someone who could actually use this kind of tone when speaking to him. He peered inside the room from a crack in the window and was able to see 4 people sitting in a row. 3 of these are men around 50 to 60 years old, while the other one is a middle-aged woman. They were all wearing black robes with a yellow belt tied around their waists. Mr. Hongzhong, Mr. Bald Brush, and Mr. Paint were all standing in front of them with their backs to the window. From this, Ling Huchong could tell that those people sitting have a higher rank than them. Uh-oh, they're in trouble. Yes, your subordinate knows his crime. On the elders' arrival, we didn't go far to welcome you. Very guilty, very guilty. What was the voice I gave him again? Was that the voice? I forgot. Ling Huchong heard Mr. Hongzhong's reply. Not going far to welcome us. Is this a crime? Where's Black White? Why doesn't he come out to see me? The gentleman sitting in the middle coldly asked. Ling Huchong laughed inside. Mr. Blackwhite has been imprisoned by me inside the underground prison, but Mr. Hongzhong and the rest of them thought that he has run away from the manor. He also thought, what elder, what subordinate? They all must be people from the devil cult. I think it's a different translation. So the devil cult is the demon cult. Four elders. Your subordinate has not been strict enough. Mr. Blackwhite's temperament is strange, and recently he has been acting like his former self. In the last few days, he has unexpectedly disappeared from the manor. Mr. Hongzhong replied. This elder's eye flashed and stared at Mr. Hongzhong. Mr. Hongzhong, Chief, ordered you 4 to guard the Plum Manor. However, from what we heard, you've been playing zither, drinking wine, drawing, and playing Go. Is this true? The elder coldly asked. We 4 subordinates have accepted Chief's order to stay here and guard the traitor, Mr. Hongzhong replied while bowing. That is correct. How's that traitor doing? The elder asked. So the traitor must be Mr. Run. We can report to the elder that the traitor is still being held inside the underground prison. Over the last 12 years, subordinate has never stepped foot outside the Plum Manor. We do not dare to relax our guard, Mr. Hongzhong reported. Very good, very good. You never stepped foot outside the Plum Manor and do not dare to relax your guard. So for sure that traitor is still being held inside the underground prison? The elder questioned. That's true, Mr. Hongzhong replied. Suddenly, that elder lifted his head and laughed loudly, facing the roof. The dust from the ceiling was seen falling around the room. So, does it seem like Mr. Run has escaped? Very good. Bring that traitor here, for us to look at, shouted the elder. 4 elders, please forgive us. Chief's strict order was not to let anyone visit the traitor except for the chief himself. We don't dare, replied Mr. Hongzhong. The elder took out something from inside his robe and lifted the object he took out high above his head. The other 3 elders stood up immediately as well, looking at the object reverently. Ling Huchong squinted his eye, trying to look at the object. It was a half-foot high, dried-up black wood. On top of the object was some kind of flowery patterns carved on it, which looked completely strange to Ling Huchong. Seeing this object, Mr. Hongzhong and the rest of the people in the room bowed toward the object. Chief's black command wood is here. It's as if Chief himself is here. Subordinate is ready to receive the order, Mr. Hongzhong said. Good. Bring that traitor here, commanded the elder. That traitor's hands and feet are bound in metal chains. We can't bring him up here, said Mr. Hongzhong hesitantly. Even until this moment, you still refuse to bring him here. I ask you, has that traitor escaped? The elder asked coldly. That traitor? That traitor has escaped? Impossible. That person is still locked away in the underground prison. I have just seen him recently with my own eyes. How can he have escaped? Mr. Huangjong answered in fright. Oh, so he's still in the underground prison. I've wronged you. Please forgive me. The elder spoke warmly with a softened expression. Then the elder stood up and slowly approached Mr. Huangjong. It looked like that he was going to apologize to the three masters of the Plum Manor, but he suddenly extended one hand to pat Mr. Huangjong's shoulder. Mr. Baldbrush and Mr. Paint simultaneously retreated 2 steps in a hurry. Although their movements were really fast, that elder's hand moved even faster. 2 sounds, bang, bang, can be heard as both of Mr. Baldbrush and Mr. Paint's right shoulders were hit. As he carried out his sneak attack, the elder was still showing a smile on his face. Actually, even with Mr. Huangjong's skill in Jianghu, he had no chance of avoiding this sneak attack. Mr. Baldbrush and Mr. Paint's skills were inferior, so even if they were aware of the attack, they had no chance of escaping the strikes. Oh, you like the command wood? He held on to his, how long was it? His half-foot high command wood. Elder Bao, what sin have we committed? Why do you use such a vicious method to deal with us? Said Mr. Paint loudly. He sounded both injured and angry. Chief ordered you to guard the traitor here, but you've let that traitor escape. Don't you think you deserve to die? The smirking Elder Bao said loudly. If that traitor has really escaped, then subordinate deserves to die, but he's still being held in the underground prison. Elder Bao, you're too vicious. We brothers cannot accept this, replied Mr. Huangjong indignantly as he was leaning slightly to one side. Ling Hucheng outside the window could see Mr. Huangjong sweating profusely. He thought that Elder Bao's palm strike was very good as he managed to subdue Mr. Huangjong, whose kung fu was already powerful, using only one palm. However, he also thought that Mr. Huangjong's kung fu could not be inferior to Elder Bao's. If not for Elder Bao's sneak attack, Mr. Huangjong may not have lost. Go to the underground prison and have a look. If that traitor is still in there, I, Bao Da Chu, will give you 3 kowtows to apologize. Naturally, I will also immediately forgive you from this sin, said Elder Bao. Okay, 4 elders, please, wait here, said Mr. Huangjong. Mr. Baldbrush and Mr. Paint immediately went out of the room to follow Mr. Huangjong. Ling Hucheng trembled as he saw these 3 people walking away from the room. He thought that he shivered because of the injuries still affecting him, but it was merely because he was excited from watching all the things happening right in front of his eyes. Fearing the 4 people inside the room detecting him, he didn't dare to look inside again, and slowly sat down on the ground. The chief they're talking about must be the current world's #1 Dongfang Bubai. He assigned the 4 playfellows of Jianan. So Dongfang Bubai is Dongfang Invincible, right? He's the leader of the demon cult. He assigned the 4 playfellows of Jianan to guard this traitor, and they've been at it for 12 years now. Of course the traitor they're talking about isn't me then. It must be that Senior Run. And he has managed to escape without Mr. Huangjong and the others' knowledge. Wow, this Senior Run is really resourceful. That's right, they all really didn't know that Senior Run has escaped. Otherwise, Mr. Blackwhite wouldn't have mistaken me for Senior Run, thought Ling Hucheng. Thinking that once Mr. Huangjong and his brothers entered the underground prison and recognized Mr. Blackwhite. Remember, Mr. Blackwhite is disguised as a prisoner. He's all depowered now. Things will get very complicated for them. Ling Huchong felt wonderful and very happy. Remember, Ling Huchong hates them now, right? Because he thinks that they imprisoned him. Why did they also imprison me in the underground prison? All I did was to compare sword art against Senior Run. They must have been afraid that I would leak their secret out, so they locked me up in there too. Ha, this is called eliminating a potential informant without murder. But eliminating a potential informant in this way is just the same as murder. This time they would be the ones to suffer difficulties. See how they like it. This will repay for the wrong that they did to me, thought Ling Huchong indignantly. Ling Huchong heard the four people inside the room, sat back down without saying a single word. He didn't dare to breathe loudly. Even though there's a wall that separated him with the four people in the room, the distance between them is only about 10 feet. He only had to breathe slightly, heavily, and they'd be able to detect him immediately. Suddenly, a cry of "Ah!" could be heard in the still and quiet night. It sounded full of pain and dread. Whoever heard it could not help but feel absolutely terrified. When Ling Huchong recognized that it was Mr. Blackwhite's voice, he felt sorry for him. However, this Mr. Blackwhite had plotted his own demise. It could be said that the consequences matched his own actions. But now that he has fallen on Elder Bao's hand, this is even more unfortunate for Mr. Blackwhite. He could hear their steps coming closer. Then he heard Mr. Huangjong and his brothers entering the room. Ling Huchong edged closer to the window's crack to take a look inside the room. Inside, he could see Mr. Baldbrush and Mr. Paint carrying Mr. Blackwhite. Mr. Blackwhite's face was pale, and his eyes lacked any spirit. The atmosphere inside the room was completely different than before. Reporting to the four elders, that traitor has escaped. The subordinate is ready to receive death, said Mr. Huangjong while bowing down. He looked like he already knew what his fate would be. His speech was calm and collected, unlike before. You said that Blackwhite is not in the manor. How come he's here now? How can it be? Calmly replied Bao Da-chu. All sorts of reasons. Actually, subordinate is really confused. All because we four subordinates are too engrossed in the arts and has let other people look at our weaknesses, and they have managed to take away that traitor from right under our noses, replied Mr. Huangjong. We four people have received Chief's order to come here and verify that the traitor has escaped. It seems you have reported truthfully now, and is not trying to deceive us anymore. Then maybe we can plead mercy to Chief on your behalf, said Bao Da-chu. Mr. Huangjong sighed and said, Even considering Chief's mercy and the four elders' compassions, how can we, subordinates, still live in this world with all this shame? The whole event is very complicated. Subordinate doesn't understand the true story. Even after we've died, we won't be content. Elder Bao, is Chief in Hangzhou City at the moment? Who said Chief is in Hangzhou City? That traitor has just escaped yesterday. How did Chief know about this so fast and sent four elders to Plum Manor immediately? Huh, you're becoming more and more stupid. Who said that traitor escaped yesterday? That person really escaped yesterday at noon. At that time, we three people thought that person was Mr. Blackwhite. We didn't know that he had switched places with Mr. Blackwhite. He was wearing Mr. Blackwhite's robe when he escaped. In this manner, we four brothers, are certain. Although, also there's still Ding Jian, who that traitor knocked down and got several of his ribs broken, Mr. Huangjong said assuredly. So remember, when Ling Huchong escaped, he was dressed as Mr. Blackwhite, right? He was disguised. So they think that it wasn't Ling Huchong. They think that Mr. Run, the senior Ren, had disguised himself as Mr. Blackwhite and escaped, right? So they thought that it just happened yesterday. But remember, Ling Huchong has been in the prison for 2 months, right? Or more, something like that. No, definitely more than 2 months. So he's been in there for a while, right? So it seems like the prisoner has escaped for a long time already. Bao Dachu turned his head to look at the other 3 elders. This person is talking nonsense. No, I don't know what he's talking about, scowled Elder Bao. We received the message last month on the 14th, a fat and short elder said while calculating with his fingers. This is the 17th day. Mr. Huangjong fiercely withdrew 2 steps and hit the wall with a bang. No! This can't be! We're really certain we saw him escape yesterday with our own eyes. Mr. Huangjong walked to the door and shouted, Shi Lingwei, bring Ding Jian here. Yes, Shi Lingwei replied from somewhere distant. Bao Dachu walked up to Mr. Blackwhite, grabbed his chest, and lifted him up. Mr. Blackwhite's hands and feet were dangling down. It seemed that all the bones in his body had been broken. His body looked like a sack of leather. Bao Dachu lost all color from his face as if he was scared to death. He quickly let go of Mr. Blackwhite's body, which crumpled to the ground. Correct, this is that bastard's. That bastard's art of essence absorbing. It can absorb the whole body's energy clean, said a tall and strong looking elder, his voice quivering and looking completely scared. When did you get this way? Bao Dachu asked Mr. Blackwhite. It was yesterday. That bastard grabbed my right wrist. I couldn't move at all. He controlled me completely, answered Mr. Blackwhite. So now it's weird, right? They totally think that the guy escaped yesterday. Little did they know that Ling Huchong had learned this art of essence absorbing, so he can use the same technique as the other guy that they feared. Bao Dachu looked completely baffled. His face muscle twitched slightly, and his eyes looked bewildered. And after that? He then pulled me through the hole in the iron gate, removed my robe, and wore it. Then he shackled my hands and feet with the steel chains. He then escaped through that hole. Bao Dachu scowled and asked, Yesterday? How can it be yesterday? The shackles for the hands and feet were made out of steel. How did he break them? Asked the fat and short-looking elder. I don't know, answered Mr. Blackwhite. Remember, when Ling Huchong escaped, those chains were already cracked. Okay, they were pre-broken. They were pre-cut. Subordinate examined the shackles and found that they were sawed through by a fine steel saw. I don't know where this bastard got the saw from, said Mr. Baldbrush. After Mr. Baldbrush finished speaking, Shi Lingwei and the 2 servants entered the room, bringing Ding Jian, and laid him down on the carpet. Ding Jian's body was covered by a thin quilt. Bao Dachu lifted the quilt and lightly poked his chest. Ding Jian screamed, showing that he was in extreme pain. Bao Dachu nodded and waved his hand, telling them to take Ding Jian away. Shi Lingwei and the 2 servants carried Ding Jian out of the room. Remember, when Ling Huchong escaped, he attacked this Ding Jian guy. This is definitely caused by that bastard, said Bao Dachu. The middle-aged woman, who until this moment had not said a single word yet, suddenly said, Elder Bao, if that bastard escaped yesterday, then the message we got last month must be a fake. That bastard's follower is still outside spreading confusion, trying to make us sway in our loyalty. Elder Bao shook his head and said, It cannot be a fake. Cannot be a fake? Asked the middle-aged woman. Lord Sui Xiang's whole body was covered by a metal gown. He used his metal gown to practice kung fu, and even a saber cannot chop through it, but someone managed to grab and dig out his heart using just his 5 fingers. Besides this bastard, in this world, there's no person who can do this, reasoned Bao Da-chu. Ling Huchong was lost in thought while listening to the conversations inside the room. Suddenly, he felt his shoulder patted by someone. He was truly startled and quickly jumped 3 steps away. He pulled his sword out, turned his head, and saw 2 people standing there. As the moon was at the back of those 2 people, he couldn't see their faces. One of them turned his head and said, "Brother, let's go in." It was Xiang Wentian's voice. Ling Huchong was overjoyed and he whispered, "Brother Xiang!" Oh, they're still there. They haven't escaped. However, the people inside the room had heard the sound of the sword being drawn and Ling Huchong's answer. "Who's out there?" Bao Da-chu shouted. Ha 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 ha. The person beside Xiang Wentian laughed out loud. This laugh shook the tiles inside the room while Ling Huchong started to feel an unbearable pain. He started to hear a wung wung sound inside his ear and felt blood rushing up his stomach. That person took a step forward and used both hands to push towards the wall. A thunderous sound was heard. In the middle of the wall was now a big hole, which that person then used to enter the room. I think we know who that person is. Xiang Wentian stretched his hand and grabbed Ling Huchong's right hand. They entered the room side by side. Inside, the 4 elders were standing up and had their hands ready in front of them. Their faces looked very intense. Ling Huchong was anxious to know who this person was, but the person's back was facing him. He looked very tall, with black hair, and was wearing a suit of blue-green gown. Bao Da-chu's voice was trembling when he said, It's Run. Senior Run has arrived. That person answered and took a long stride forward. Bao Da-chu and Mr. Huang involuntarily took 2 steps backward. That person turned and sat at the chair which Bao Da-chu sat in earlier. Ling Huchong now managed to see his face clearly. That person's face was long and white as snow. Long and white as snow. Not a trace of blood could be seen on the face. His feature was handsome, but his white complexion was just like a corpse, which had just come out of the grave. He beckoned to Xiang Wentian and Ling Huchong. "Brother Xiang, Brother Ling Huchong, please, come and sit here." When Ling Huchong heard his voice, he was pleasantly surprised. You are Senior Ren?" asked Ling Huchong. That person smiled slightly and said, "I am. Your sword art may be much better." "You're really out of trouble already. Today I came here to rescue you," said Ling Huchong excitedly. That person laughed and said, "Today you came here to rescue me out of prison, did you?" "Brother Xiang, your brother Ren has so many friends." Xiang Wentian pulled Ling Huchong's hand and seated him on the right side of Senior Ren. Then he sat himself down on the left side. Brother Ling Hu is really sincere in dealing with people. You're really the world's most upright and courageous person, said Xiang Wentian. "Brother Ling Hu, you've given up more than 2 months of your life to live in the... Okay, it was 2 months. To live in the dark underground prison. I feel very sorry for you." Said that person. By now, Ling Huchong had an inkling, but was not able to completely understand what was going on. With a smile on his face, that person looked at Ling Huchong and said, You were imprisoned for more than 2 months because of me. But in that time, you finished learning the art of essence absorbing that I had written on the iron panel. Hey, that means I've paid you back for your time in there. So he did write down the... Oh, I don't think he wrote down the technique just to teach him. I think he wrote that down a long time ago, maybe. Why am I looking at the wall? I'm looking at the chat. I have another monitor here, just to read what you guys are saying. That secret on the iron panel was written by you? Asked Ling Huchong in surprise. If it wasn't me, then who else in the world knows the art of essence absorbing? Answered that person with a smile. Brother, Chief runs his art of essence absorbing has been passed to you only. Congratulations, said Xiang Wenxian. Chief Run? Asked Ling Huchong, confused. Originally, when you arrived here, you didn't know Chief Run's position. Chief Run is the chief of the Sun Moon sect. His name is Wuxia. Have you heard of this name before? Asked Xiang Wenxian. Ling Huchong knew that the Sun Moon sect was the Devil sect. Okay, I guess we're calling it the Devil sect now. I liked Demon sect better, but okay. So the Devil sect is what their enemies call them. They call themselves the Sun Moon sect. Ling Huchong knew that the Sun Moon sect was the Devil sect, but he didn't know the origin of this sect. And the Jianghu people mostly knew. The Jianghu is the martial arts world. The Jianghu people mostly knew of this religion by the name of the Devil sect, and Devil sect's chief had always been Dongfang Bubai. Where did Ren Wuxia come from? Chief Run's name, I found it carved on the iron panel, but I didn't know that he was the chief, muttered Ling Huchong. The tall and strong-looking elder suddenly shouted, What chief is he? Everyone under heaven knows that our Sun Moon sect's chief is Chief Dongfang. This person Ren was expelled a long time ago for rebelling against our sect. Xiang Wenxian, what you said is heresy. This is a big sin. Ren Wuxia slowly turned his head and stared at this elder. He then asked, You are Qin Wei Bang, aren't you? Correct, said that tall and strong-looking elder. When I was the chief, you were the master of our Jiangxi headquarters, correct? Asked Ren Wuxia. That's right, answered Qin Wei Bang. Ren Wuxia sighed and said, You're now one of the sect's 10 elders. You were promoted rather quickly, don't you think? How come Dongfang Bubai rates you so highly? Is it because of your martial arts skill? Or is it because of you can take care of the sect's business? I am loyal to the sect and take care of the sect's business. Also, my accomplishments in the past 10 years earned my promotion, replied Qin Wei Bang. Ren Wuxia nodded his head and said, That's not too bad. Suddenly, Ren Wuxia's body shook. Before anyone can react, he was already in front of Bao Dachu. His left hand quickly shot out and grabbed Bao Dachu's throat. Bao Dachu was startled, and he tried using his right hand, shaped in a knife form, to deflect the grab, but it was too late. So he used his left elbow to protect his throat. At the same time, he used his left foot to retreat a step, while using his knife-form right hand to hack down. This was done in an instant, one hand defending tightly and one hand attacking fiercely, a wise technique to use. But Ren Wuxia wasn't finished yet. His right hand was now coming in fast to grab Bao Dachu's right hand. Before Bao Dachu was able to use his knife-form right hand to chop down, his chest was grabbed and his gown torn open. In Ren Wuxia's left hand was now an object that he's grabbed from inside Bao Dachu's gown. It was the black command wood. With his right hand turned over, he twisted Bao Dachu's right wrist. At the same time, 3 dang 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 sounds were heard. This was Xiang Wenxian using his longsword to separate Qin Wei Bang and the other 2 elders from Bao Dachu. Each of the 3 elders had drawn their weapons. Xiang Wenxian had attacked 3 times, but these attacks were only meant to prevent the 3 elders from helping Bao Dachu. When these 3 attacks were finished, Bao Dachu was completely under Ren Wuxia's control. Ren Wuxia smiled and said, I haven't used my art of essence absorbing yet. Do you want to taste it? Bao Dachu knew that if he didn't surrender, then he would be killed in an instant. He has no other option but to surrender. So he made the decision quickly and said, Chief Ren, Bao Dachu from now on vows loyalty and devotion to you. Once in the past, you swore loyalty to me, and then you betrayed me, answered Run Walsing. Chief Run, please allow a subordinate to atone for my sin by pledging my service to you, quivered Bao Dachu. All right, eat this pill first, said Run Walsing, and released his wrist. He took out a small medicine bottle from his chest. He turned it over to get a fiery red pill out, and threw the pill over to Bao Dachu. Oh, he's gonna be red-pilled. Bao Dachu grabbed the pill. Without looking at it, he put it in his mouth and swallowed it. This pill is 3 corpse brain pill? The what? This pill is the 3 corpse brain pill? Muttered Qin Wei Bang. Run Washing nodded his head and said, Correct. This is definitely the 3 corpse brain. He took out 6 more 3 corpse brain pills and threw it on the table. The pills rolled on the table. Do you know how terrible these 3 corpse brain pills are? Asked Run Walsing. After taking the brain pill, our lives will be in the chief's hand, so we must forever follow the chief's order. Otherwise, the corpse bugs in the pill will be released, and they will enter the brain and start eating it. The pain would be unbearable. Also, you will become insane, just like a crazy dog, explained Bao Dachu. What you said is very true. You already knew the efficiency of my brain pill. How come you still took it? Asked Run Walsing. From now on, subordinates will be loyal to Chief forever. Even though this brain pill is very efficient, it's irrelevant to me. Ha ha ha. Very good, very good. Who else wants to take these pills? Said Run Walsing, laughing. So this is how he takes his subordinates. This is how he makes people loyal to him, by making them take these pills. Mr. Huangjong, Mr. Baldbrush, and Mr. Paint looked at each other in dismay, along with Qin Weibang and the other 2 elders. These 6 people had been in the Sun Moon sect for a very long time, so they already knew that the corpse bugs inside the 3 corpse brain pill didn't just break out suddenly. Usually at noon every year at the Dragon Boat Festival, they had to take the medicine to restrain the corpse bugs. If they didn't, then the corpse bugs would be released. Once the bugs entered the brain, this person would become like a ghost and would no longer have the capacity to reason. He would also lose all rationality. He would even eat his own parents or wife. With no other poison in the world is as potent as this. Furthermore, the 3 corpse brain pills were made by many different people and have different natures, so Chief Dongfang's medicine wouldn't have any effect on Run Walsing's 3 corpse brain poison. Are these a raw translations? These are fan translation. Okay? Yeah. There's actually an official translation, but I don't have it. Yeah, so this is a fan translation. They were all scared to death, hesitating on what to do. Suddenly, Mr. Blackwhite said loudly, Chief, have mercy, please. Subordinates will take one first. He was struggling to the table to take the pill. Run Walsing lightly brushed away his sleeve. Mr. Blackwhite was hit and fell hard on the ground. His brain matter scattered all over the wall. Oh, he just killed him. Did you see that? A light brush just dashed Mr. Blackwhite's head all over the wall. You're a crippled and have lost all your martial arts already. Don't waste my wonder pill, coldly smiled Run Walsing. Qin Weibang, Wang Cheng, Sang San Yang, you guys don't want to take my wonder pill? Asked Run Wo Sing as he turned his head to them. The middle-aged woman, Sang San Yang, bowed and said, Subordinate vows her loyalty to Chief from now on. The fat and short-looking elder, Wang Cheng, honestly said, Subordinate sacrifice myself willingly to Chief. Both took a pill each from the table and swallowed them. Those two people dreaded Run Wo Sing completely. They had already seen with their own eyes Run Wo Sing's ruthlessness. They would never dare to revolt again. Oh, bells for Mr. Blackwhite? Aw, poor Mr. Blackwhite. He just wanted to learn some martial arts technique. But now he's dead, and his brain is on the walls. When Run Wo Sing was chief, Qin Weibang was in charge of the headquarters, responsible for several districts. He had seen the various fierce methods that Run Wo Sing used. I won't accompany you, shouted Qin Weibang as he jumped through the hole in the wall. Ha 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 ha, laughed Run Wo Sing without trying to stop him escaping. Qin Weibang's body was outside the wall when a long and slender black whip shot out from Xiang Wenxiang's left sleeve. Everyone in the room heard a cry of "ah" from outside the wall as the whip was now being pulled back through the hole. Qin Weibang was being dragged back through the wall with the whip coiled around his left foot. He struggled with all his might, rolling around the ground, trying to break free. Sang San Yang, take a brain pill and peel its outside skin, said Run Wo Sing. Oh no. Yes, responded Sang San Yang. Can't even say that name. She took one pill from the table and used her finger to peel its shell. Inside the pill was a small gray-colored round ball. Feed it to him, ordered Run Wo Sing. Yes, answered Sang San Yang. She went in front of Qin Weibang and ordered, Open your mouth. He turned around and shot out a palm, even though his kung fu was slightly above Sang San Yang. But his ankle was under the whip's control, so his palm power was greatly reduced. Sang San Yang's left foot kicked his wrist, followed by her right foot kicking his chest, and in Yuan Yang Mandarin style, her left foot kicked again at his shoulder. These three kicks had sealed his acupoints. Oh, he didn't need to use her fingers. Just use her foot. She then used her left hand to pinch his jaw, forcing it to open, and her right hand put the peeled brain pill in his mouth. Her right hand followed by pinching his throat, making him swallow the pill. Ling Huchong had been observing everything intently. He thought that these people had acted as if these things happen all the time in their normal, ordinary days. This granny's hand and foot movements are clever, Ling Huchong thought. He didn't know that Sang San Yang used her hand-capturing martial art to show off her vitality and unique skill to Run Wo Sing. Also, she wanted to show the chief that she was loyal to him. Run Wo Sing nodded his approval and smiled. Sang San Yang got up and stood guard respectfully beside Qin Weibang. Run Wo Sing turned around and looked at Mr. Hong Zhong and his two brothers. They understood that he was asking them whether they were going to take the pill or not. Without speaking a single word, Mr. Baldbrush went to take a pill and swallowed it. Mr. Paint was mumbling to himself before he finally went and took a pill. Mr. Hong Zhong looked grieved. He took a book out of his bosom. This was the Guangling Sun music score. He walked to Ling Huchong and said, Your Honorable's martial art is very high. You are also very wise to set up this strategy to help Run Wo Sing get out. I admire you. This music score has harmed us four brothers. I return this to you. He then tossed the music score to Ling Huchong. Remember, because they wanted these treasures, right? And Mr. Hong Zhong wanted this music score so much that they were willing to let they were willing to let Ling Huchang fight with Mr. Ren, right? To fight with Ren Wuxing. So this was all because they were they wanted these treasures so much, and it turned out really badly for them. Ling Huchang was startled. He then saw Mr. Huangzhong turn around and walked towards the hall. Feeling regret and sorrow watching Mr. Huangzhong walking towards towards the wall, he couldn't help think, this was all Brother Xiang's plan to save Chief Ren. He didn't even know anything about it. But Mr. Huangzhong and the two brothers will hate me, always. I can never separate myself from this matter. So this was the whole plan by Xiang Wenjian, right? Just to free his leader here. Mr. Huangzhong leaned against the wall and said, originally, we four brothers entered the Sun Moon sect with the intention of upholding justice in Jianghu, but Chief Ren's temper was irritable, and he used the power for his own gain. So we four brothers didn't get involved much in the sect's affairs. When Chief Dongfang became chief, he was crafty and villainous, and he expelled a lot of brothers from the sect. We four brothers became downhearted, so we asked to be sent here, to be far away from Darkwood Cliff, and not to be involved in other people's affairs. So we stayed in the West Lake, cherishing the arts. In the past 12 years, we've enjoyed a lot of happiness and good fortune. A man's life is full of worry and short of happiness. This is fate. Speaking until here, a hum sound was heard. His body slowly dropped down. Big brother! Shouted Mr. Baldbrush and Mr. Paint. They ran to Mr. Huangzhong's side to support him, only to see a dagger sticking out of his heart, his two eyes wide open, and his breath had stopped. Big brother! Big brother! Cried both of them, their tears pouring down. He suicided himself. I think that deserves another bell toll. Wang Sheng applauded and said, this old fellow didn't follow Chief's order. Now he's killed himself, fearing his crime. He's also added one more crime to his name. What are you two chaps being noisy about? Mr. Paint, his face full of anger, turned around. He wanted to charge at Wang Cheng, disregarding his own life. What? You want to rebel? Smirked Wang Cheng. Mr. Paint remembered that he had taken the 3-brain corpse pill. What? They changed the order. The 3-corpse brain pill. Already. From here on, he mustn't defy Ren Wuxing's order at all. With this in mind, his anger subsided. He merely lowered his head and wiped his tears. Bring his corpse and this crippled corpse outside. Bring in the wine and dishes. Today I'm going to get drunk with Brother Xiang and Brother Ling Hu, said Ren Wuxing. Right away, said Mr. Baldbrush, after he'd brought Mr. Huangzhong's corpse outside. A servant came in and arranged 6 sets of bowls and chopsticks. All right. 5-minute break. All right. And I'll be right back. All right. All right, I'm back. Does anyone feel bad for the 4 playfellows? Those 4 brothers? I mean, they just wanted to escape the martial arts world. They just wanted to live by themselves, practicing their arts. And now they're all screwed. 2 of them are dead, and 2 of them are enslaved, basically. And it's partially because of Ling Huchang, our hero. Okay, so now they're gonna have a big old party, I guess, or a little party. A servant came in and arranged 6 sets of bowls and chopsticks. Take away 3 sets. How can we share a table with Chief? Said Bao Da-chu whilst helping to set up the bowls and chopsticks. You have worked hard also. Have a drink outside, said Ren Wo-sing. Bao Da-chu, Wang Cheng, and Sang San-yang bowed together and replied, Thank you for Chief's grace. They then withdrew out of the room slowly. After Ling Huchang saw Mr. Huang Zhang's suicide, he came to regard him as a righteous and upright person. He remembered the day when Mr. Huang Zhang offered to write a letter to Shaolin Abbot Fang Zheng to treat Ling Huchang's illness. Ling Huchang couldn't help but feel sad at Mr. Huang Zhang's death. Brother, you've had a really good fortune being able to learn the chief's art of essence absorbing. Let's hear your story, said Xiang Wenxian, smiling. So Ling Huchang told them how he found the skill on the iron panel and everything that went on afterwards. Congratulations. This type of opportunity is really precious. It makes brother's life good and happy, said Xiang Wenxian happily. As he finished speaking, he lifted his wine cup and chugged it down in a mouthful. Ren Wo-sing and Ling Huchang also lifted their wine cups and chugged them down. Looking happy, Ren Wo-sing said, When you look at this matter, it actually is very dangerous. Initially, when I engraved this martial arts' secrets on the iron panel, I was just feeling melancholy and wanting to kill some time. I didn't actually have any intention to preserve this martial art. This divine martial art is of course real, but I didn't leave any direction to help in learning or to avoid having fire deviation. This is to prevent people from getting this skill. There are 2 major difficulties in learning this divine skill. The first difficulty involves scattering all of the body's internal energy and emptying everything from the Dantian region. If the internal energy is not emptied out, or if it was scattered into the wrong acupoints, you will get fire deviation. At best, your whole body will be paralyzed and you will be crippled. At worst, your meridians will flow backwards and you will bleed to death from 7 holes in your body. This martial arts was created by Cheng Yida several hundred years ago, and it is rare to get instructions for it. Also, very few people finished learning it completely because this scattering step is very difficult. Brother Linghu had actually had a few big advantages. First, you have lost all of your internal energy, so you didn't care about scattering your energy, and it didn't take too much effort for you to complete the first step. For other people, this is the most difficult and dangerous step. You, on the other hand, passed this step unexpectedly and unwittingly. After scattering your internal energy, it is essential to absorb other people's qi immediately. This energy from another person must be stored in your dantian and then scattered into your 8 meridians. Ordinarily, this step is also very difficult. Your whole internal energy has just been dispersed into the meridians. You then must absorb someone's qi. How can this be an easy thing to do? Who wants to give up his life for you to practice this skill? Brother Linghu again had an advantage with this second difficulty. I've heard Brother Xiang said that there are 8 types of internal energy in your body from various masters. Although they are only a portion of each person's qi, each one is already extremely good. Brother Linghu, you've passed these 2 major obstacles very easily and finished learning the skill. It must be heaven's will. Ling Huchang's palm was wet with cold sweat. He said, Luckily, all my internal energy was lost already. Otherwise, I don't dare to think what would have happened. Brother Xian, how did Chief Ren escape from the underground prison? Little brother still doesn't know how this happened. Xiang Wenxian chuckled and took out an object from his bosom and put it on Ling Huchang's palm. What's this? Asked Ling Huchang as he felt a hard ball on his palm. It was the object that he gave to Ren Wo-sing on that day. He opened his palm and saw a metal ball. There was an inlay with a metal bead on the ball. He pushed the metal bead and it turned around in the inlay. When he pulled on the bead, an extremely fine metal thread came out of it. The end of this metal thread was connected to the ball on his hand. With a row of sawtooth, this metal thread was just like a metal wire saw. Ling Hucheng was suddenly enlightened. So that was how the shackles on Chief's hands and feet were broken, exclaimed Ling Hucheng. I completely knocked out all 5 of you by laughing a few times using my internal energy. Then I used that metal saw to cut the shackles. How did you deal with Mr. Blackwhite when you were escaping? What do you think I did? Asked Ren Wuxia with a smile. First you switched your clothes with mine, and then you shackled my hands and feet. No wonder Mr. Huangzhong didn't notice what happened, beamed Ling Hucheng. Of course, it wasn't easy to conceal this from Huangzhong and Mr. Blackwhite, but when they woke up, Chief and I had already left the Plum Manor. We left them the chess book, the music score, the calligraphy, and the painting. Seeing these probably made them very happy. How can they suspect that the person inside the prison has escaped? Explained Xiang. Wait, shit. Using the wrong voice there. Explained Xiang Wenjian. Brother's strategy was certainly divine. No other person could have done it this well, said Ling Hucheng. But in his heart, he was thinking, you planned all of this from the very beginning. You deceived these 4 people to lead us inside the prison. But it has been a long time since Chief escaped. How come it took you so long to rescue me? Xiang Wenjian noticed the change of color on Ling Hucheng's face and guessed correctly what Ling Hucheng was thinking. With a smile, he said, Brother, Chief had many major matters to deal with after the escape from the prison. We cannot let the enemy know of the escape at the time, so it was better to wrong you and let you stay under the West Lake for several days first. Didn't we come to rescue you today? However, we found you've turned bad luck into good fortune and have finished learning this marvelous martial art. That should compensate for your time in there. Wasn't it a fair trade? Saying this, Xiang Wenjian filled their wine cups to the brim. Yep, that's right. They swapped Ren for Ling Hu. Actually, they just... yeah. Since everyone was unconscious, they didn't see Ren Wuxia escaping. Ren Wuxia laughed loudly and said, Cheers! Each of them gulped their wine down. What fair trade? I have to thank the 2 of you. Originally, I had serious internal injuries that have no cure in this world. After learning Chief's divine martial arts, these internal injuries were healed, giving me back 1 life, smiled Ling Hucheng. The 3 of them laughed loudly, feeling very happy. 12 years ago, Chief went missing, and Dongfang Bu Bai seized power. When I found out about this matter, I could only bear patiently. So I worked together with Dongfang Bu Bai with little interest. Until recently, when I found out that Chief was being imprisoned here, I came here straight away to help Chief escape from this prison. How was I supposed to know that when I descended from Darkwood Cliff, that bastard Dongfang Bu Bai would send many groups to kill me? Then I accidentally met with those Orthodox sect scoundrel bastards when they were having a meeting. Brother, that day at the bottom of the valley, you told me the reason for losing your internal energy. At that time, I thought of scattering your various strange internal energies. At the present age, only Chief can do this, reasoned Xiang Wenjian. After drinking more than 10 cups of wine, Ling Hucheng thought that this person Ren Wuxing's style of speaking was heroic. His knowledge and experience were not ordinary. He really was a rare grand hero. He couldn't help but to admire him. At first, when he saw how he dealt with Qin Weibang, Mr. Huangjong, and Mr. Blackwhite, he thought that his method was excessively vicious, but after hearing him talk, he quite resembled that of a hero. Also, he thought that his temperament couldn't often be this vicious, hence his heart, which at first held a resentful thought towards Ren Wuxing, gradually subsided. Does that make sense? He seems like an evil dude. But okay, if you think he's a hero. Brother Linghu, when we treat with the enemy, we treat them viciously. Managing subordinates must also be strict. You're probably not accustomed to it, but you think, how long have I been locked up under the Westlake's underground prison? You've been imprisoned there too. You know how it feels like. How do others treat me? Regarding the enemy's rebel, can you treat them compassionately? Said Ren Wuxing. Ling Hucheng nodded, agreeing with him. Suddenly, he wanted to deal with the matter and stood up. I have a matter to request from Chief. Hopefully Chief will agree to it, said Ling Hucheng. What matter? Asked Ren Wuxing. The day when I first met Chief, I heard Mr. Huangjong said that when Chief escaped and re-entered Jianghu, that you will give Huashan School great trouble. I also heard Chief said that if you met my master, then you will give him some embarrassments. The grammar in this translation is not so good. Chief's martial arts is godly. If you will give trouble to Huashan School, then no one there would be able to withstand it, said Ling Hucheng. I heard Brother Xiang said that your master announced to everyone that you've been expelled from Huashan School. I'll go and disgrace them. After we've found them, we'll wipe Huashan School out from the Wulin world. This is to substitute for the bitter feeling in your heart, told Ren Wuxing. Ling Hucheng shook his head and replied, My parents died when I was young. It was Master and Master Wife's kindness that they took me in. They took care of me when I was growing up and then took me in as a disciple. They're like parents to me. It was my fault that Master expelled me from the school. Also, there might be some misunderstandings between us. I wouldn't dare blame my kind master. It was Yue Buchun who treated you heartlessly. But you're not willing to seek justice? Smiled Ren Wuxing. I beg for Chief's kindness and to be broad-minded. Please don't go after my master, master wife, and Huashan School's disciples, said Ling Hucheng. I've escaped from that dark prison, and you've also had your strive at the same time. But I've passed on to you the divine skill of art of essence absorbing and saved your life. Both things should be equal. I've re-entered Jianghu and have a lot of grudges. I can't agree to your request. Later, when I handle my affairs, I can't have both my hands and feet tied, answered Ren Wuxing. Hearing him say this, Ling Hucheng felt that his master would meet great difficulty. He couldn't help but feel anxious. Ren Wuxing laughed and said, Little brother, sit down. Today in this world, I only trust you and Brother Xiang. You requested one matter from me, and we can always discuss this. How about this? I also have a request to make of you. Why don't you agree to this matter for me first? After today, when I meet Huashan's disciples, as long as they're not disrespectful towards me, then I won't bother them. Even if I must teach them a lesson, if I see you at that time, I will hold my hand and only use 30% of my power. What do you say to this? Ling Hucheng was very happy. He replied, I'm deeply grateful for this. Who dares to not follow Chief's order? I don't know about that. Like 30% of his power is probably still enough to kill the people of Huashan, to be honest. We three are now sworn brothers. From today, we'll share all happiness and woes together. Brother Xiang is Sun Moon Sex's Guangming Shuo Xi. left protector. You will become my sex's Guangming Yoshi. Guangming Yoshi, the right protector. What do you think of this? Said Run Wo-sing. Ling Huchang was startled when he heard this. He didn't anticipate that Run Wo-sing wanted him to join the Devil Sect. When he was young, he heard from the master and master wife that the Devil Sect has many kinds of evil and vicious people. After he'd been expelled from the Huashan school, he was thinking of just leisurely wandering the Jianghu and not belonging to any school or sect. Even if his body wanted to join the Devil Sect, his mind thought that he should not. His heart was disconcerted. He didn't know how to answer. Run Wo-sing and Xiang Wenjian were staring at him. The room was now completely quiet, and not a single sound could be heard. What are you gonna do? After some time, Ling Huchang said, Chief is very kind to let me, Ling Huchang, enter the sect so late, but how would I dare to stand side by side with Chief? Also, I'm still hoping that even though I don't have a chance to rejoin Huashan School, Master will have a change of attitude and take back his command. Run Wo-sing smiled tastelessly and said, You call me Chief. Actually, although I've escaped from prison, my life is still in a precarious state, and this word, Chief, means nothing. It's only good to hear. Today, everyone knows that Sun Moon Sex's chief is Dongfang Bubai. This person's kung fu is high and is not below me at all. His strategy and wisdom are also above me. With a signal from him, many people will rush to help him and against only Brother Xiang and me. So, taking the position of chief from him is a hopeless battle. It's a foolish and deluded action. You're not willing to be my sworn brother. Of course, this is a wise idea to protect your own life. Come. Let's drink and be happy. Let this matter rest. How did Dongfang Bubai take away Chief's power and position? Also, how did you get imprisoned in the underground prison? There are many matters that I still don't understand. Can these two matters be explained? Asked Ling Huchang. All right, Barbara, have fun. Bye. Glad you joined us. Run Wo-sing shook his head. His smile was mournful. He said, I've been living under that lake for 12 years. What fame and authority do I have left? Hey, I've grown older and my temper has also become worse. He filled a wine cup to the brim, drank it in a mouthful, and laughed loudly. His laughter sounded sad and forlorn. Brother, that day Dongfang Bubai sent a lot of people to chase after me. You've seen his vicious method with your own eyes. If you didn't give me a hand, I would have become mincemeat in that pavilion. Right now, your heart is divided between the Orthodox school and the Devil Sect. But on that day, those several hundred people from both sides allied together and tried to kill the two of us. Where is the division? What Orthodox school? What Devil Sect? Actually, this division is only artificial. Inside the Orthodox schools, there are good people, but don't they also have some despicable and evil disciples? Although the Devil Sect has no shortages of bad people, but we three people would be able to hold the power in the sect, so we'll be able to reorganize the sect well and get rid of those evil degenerates. Won't we be seen as a proud and heroic sect in Jianghu? Xiang Wenjian said. I like how he talks about himself as if he's a good person. Yeah, it'll be fine when we take control of the sect, because we're good people. Ling Huchang nodded and said, what Big Brother said is true. Back in those days, Chief treated Dongfang Bubai fairly. He was promoted to the position of left protector and was given all the power in the sect. Meanwhile, Chief was concentrating on correcting some small flaws in the art of essence absorbing. That wolf Dongfang Bubai, with his unexpectedly wild ambition, took care of everyday affairs. On the surface, he treated Chief respectfully and didn't dare to violate anything, but secretly, he gathered he gathered power to himself and did things on false pretexts. He removed all the ministers loyal to Chief. All were possibly killed. A few years later, all of Chief's trusted people were gone. Chief is an upright and most sincere person. He saw that Dongfang Bubai was respectful and prudent, so he didn't suspect anything. But Dongfang Bubai had positioned himself well in the sect, with his hands in everything. He had everything arranged to his liking. He didn't have any suspicions from the beginning to the end, explained Xiang Wenjian. Ren Wuxia sighed and said, Brother Xiang, I'm actually very ashamed of this matter. You honestly told me many times to guard against treachery, but I trusted Dongfang Bubai too highly and didn't like to hear those honest talk. Instead, I thought you were jealous of him. After I blamed you, you sowed dissension, and a lot of lives were lost. Then you left in anger, and from then on, we haven't met again, until now. I wouldn't dare to blame Chief. I merely saw that something wasn't right, that Dongfang Bubai encircled us secretly and then launched his attack. If subordinate was besides Chief at that time, then I would be also suffer his... That's a hard voice to do. Then I would also suffer his violent treachery. Although I was willing to face difficulty and death for the sect, I had to consider about the future in this case. So I felt that I must have a way to escape for every situation. If Chief was able to see through his deceitful heart and ordered him to not pursue his own goals, then I would have been really happy. Otherwise, I would be outside the sect. At the very least, I should avoid him unless he discovered about my suspicion, said Xiang Wenjian. Ren Wuxia nodded and said, That's true. But how did you know about your pain? But how did I know about your pain at that time? I only saw you left without saying goodbye and felt really angry. At the same time, my martial arts practice had just reached its critical point, and I nearly had a calamity. That Dongfang Bubai actually did everything to please me and advised me not to worry. Then I fell even deeper in his plot. I went as far as giving him the secret sunflower scripture. When Ling Hucheng heard of this sunflower scripture, he let out an ah. Brother, you also know about the sunflower scripture? Asked Xiang Wenjian. I only heard Master mention this name before. I knew that it's a deep and profound martial arts secret, but I didn't know that it was in Chief's possession, answered Ling Hucheng. For many years, sunflower scripture had been Sun Moon Sect's well-guarded treasure. It is handed down from the previous chief to the next. When I was practicing the art of essence absorbing, I neglected to eat and sleep. I didn't care about any matters at all, and I wanted to give up the position of chief to Dongfang Bubai. So I gave Dongfang Bubai the sunflower scripture. This is to make him understand clearly about my intention, that not long after I was going to give the position of chief to him. Originally, Dongfang Bubai is a very intelligent person, but once he understood that he was going to get the position of chief, why did he have to rush in, getting it, and not willing to wait until I formally give him the position myself? Why did he instead rebel to seize this position? Said Ren Wuxia. He scowled, and it appears that even until now he didn't understand clearly about this matter. Apparently, he couldn't wait a moment longer. He didn't know when Chief was going to formally give him the position, so he worried and afraid that something might suddenly change, explained Xiang Wenjian. Actually, he already secured everything for himself. What sudden change should he be afraid of? It's difficult to predict the minds of other people. When I was in the underground prison, I went over his treasonous plan from many different angles, trying to understand. Why did he suddenly launch the attack? Even until now, I still don't understand his logic. Originally, he was a little bit jealous of you, afraid that I might give the position of chief to you, but he'd seen you left with his own eyes, so it was better for him to just wait for a little while, reasoned Run Wuxia. At the Knights of the Dragon Boat Festival's feast in the same year that Dongfang Bubai launched his attack, Miss said something at the banquet. Does Chief still remember what she said? Asked Xiang Wanxiang. Run Wuxia scratched his head, pondering. Dragon Boat Festival. What did that little miss say? What's the connection? I don't remember. Chief, don't treat Miss as a little child. She's very clever and thoughtful, and no lesser than an adult. That year, Miss was 7 years old, right? She was at the banquet looking at people when she suddenly asked you, Dad, how come when we drink wine at the Dragon Boat Festival every year, there's always one person less? You were startled and asked her, What do you mean there is one person less every year? Miss answered, I remembered there were 11 people last year. The year before, there were 12 people. This year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we only have 10, recounted Xiang Wenqian. Run Wuxia sighed and said, That's true. At that time when I heard what little Miss said, I felt very unhappy. The year before, Dongfang Bubai had executed younger brother Hao Xian. The year before that, Elder Chu died at Gansu with no clear reason. When I think about it now, this must have been Dongfang Bubai's evil doing. And 1 year before that, Elder Wen was removed from the sect and was killed by the masters from Songshan School, Taishan School, and Hongshan School. That disaster must also be Dongfang Bubai's doing. Little Miss accidentally said the right word and revealed his plan. At that time, my mind was like in a dream. I couldn't comprehend it. He stopped for a while and gulped his wine down. He continued. This art of essence absorbing was created by Xiao Yao sect in times of Northern Song. It was a combination of the two skills Bei Ming Shen Gong and Hua Gong Da Fa, which were left behind by Dao Li's Duan family and Xing Xiu sect, respectively. They were combined into one and became the art of essence absorbing. The art of essence absorbing's main principle is inherited from Hua Gong Da Fa, but the scholars who wrote the formula down didn't know the proper way, so there were some flaws on the skill. In the meantime, for more than 10 years, I've been repairing this art of essence absorbing. In Jianghu, this divine martial arts skill still has a big reputation. When people from orthodox schools hear this name, they still tremble with fear. But I know that this divine martial art has a few big flaws in it. In the beginning, I didn't feel anything was wrong. But later, a disastrous problem was slowly revealed. In those several years, I came to understand the problem deeply. I knew that if I don't find the remedy soon, I would one day die by fire deviation. Those energies that I've absorbed from other people could suddenly reverse because I've absorbed a lot of energy. The reverse energy could also be just as big. When Ling Huchong heard all of this, he secretly felt that there was one big thing that wasn't right. Run Wuxia continued, At that time, I've already absorbed the internal energies of 10 evil masters, but because each of the 10 internal energies was very strong and very different, they prohibited each other from being sent to different gates. I believe that there must be a way to make all these internal energies harmonious and whole, so that I could use them. Otherwise, I will always be in danger. In those few years, I thought day and night, on how to solve this problem, to the point that I neglected everything except thinking on this matter. That day at the Dragon Boat Festival feast, although I was drinking wine and cracking jokes, but in my heart I sought a way that would allow the energy in my body to flow freely amidst the 22 acupoints of the Yang Jiao channel, and the 32 acupoints of the Yang Wei channel. These made up a total of 54 acupoints through which the energy could flow in its passage from the Yang Jiao to the Yang Wei and vice versa. At that time, I also thought that it was strange, as Chief is usually alert. Chief only needs to hear half a word to know what a person wants to say. You observed everything and missed nothing. But in those several years, not only were you not aware of Dongfang Bubai's treasonous plan, but also every day, sighed Xiang Wenxian. Ren Wuxia smiled a little and said, every day I was dazed and witless. My mind seemed to be elsewhere all the time. That's true. After Miss said those words, Dongfang Bubai laughed and said, Miss, you love the things to be lively, don't you? Next year, we'll invite more people to drink wine. When he said those words, his face was full of happiness. But when I observed his eyes, it was full of hesitation. He must have suspected that Chief knew of what he was up to. At that right then, Chief was just pretending to be ignorant to test him. He knew that Chief is astute, so he expected that Chief knew about his plan already, said Xiang Wenxian. Ren Wuxia scowled and said, I couldn't remember at all what little Miss said at the Dragon Boat's Festival's feast 12 years ago. I now remember only after you mentioned about it. That's right, when Dongfang Bubai heard those words, how can it not raise his suspicions? Also, Dongfang Bubai was afraid that Miss would see through his treasonous plan in a year or two. when she had grown up and gotten even smarter. Furthermore, he was afraid that if he waited until she became an adult, Chief might give the position of chief to her. So, when Dongfang Bubai heard this, he didn't dare to wait any longer. He took a risk and launched the attack. This is the logic behind all of this, Xiang Wenxian explained. Ren Wuxia nodded his head, agreeing with what Xiang Wenxian said. If my daughter is by my side now, then we'll have one more person, and our position wouldn't be as weak as right now, said Ren Wuxia. Xiang Wenxian turned to Ling Huchong and said, Brother, Chief has already said that there's a big flaw with the art of essence absorbing. As far as I know, Chief was working on a solution to fix this divine martial art while he endured being imprisoned for the last 12 years. Of course, by the time he escaped from that prison, he already had a breakthrough and found the solution for this divine martial arts. Chief, is this right? Ren Wuxia rubbed his thick black beard, laughed, and was feeling proud of himself. He said, Of course, from now on when I absorb other people's energy, I don't have to worry about these energies suddenly reversing. Brother Linghu, take a deep breath. Don't you feel there's qi drumming fiercely at your Yuzhen and Shangzhong acupoints? Ling Chong took a deep breath and felt a faint qi flowing at his Yuzhen and Shangzhong acupoints. He couldn't help that his complexion changed as he did this. You've only begun your practice, so you can probably only feel it a little bit. But during those years, before I found the remedy, the qi in these two pressure points was drumming really fiercely. It felt like the sky was falling down and the earth shaking. It was torture. Even though I looked calm and quiet outside, inside my ears it sounded like there were 1,000 horses charging through. Sometimes it sounded like thunder continuously striking down. If I wasn't having such a big disaster with my qi, how could Dongfang Bubai's treasonous plan have succeeded? Said Ren Wuxia. Define astute. Astute means you're like you have a good attention to detail and you see things. You're very perceptive. Astute. Yeah, having or showing an ability to accurately assess situations or people and to turn this to one's advantage. Ling Hucheng knew that Run Wo-sing was saying the truth. He also knew that Xiang Wenjian mentioned this problem to get him to ask for advice from Run Wo-sing, but he was determined not to join the Sun Moon sect and ask for Run Wo-sing's help. He couldn't say anything, but in his heart he was thinking, I've already learned this art of essence absorbing. This skill absorbs other people's energy for myself to use. It's a very selfish and vicious skill. I had decided not to practice and use it. If I can't stop these absorbed energies from reversing, then that's the way it's going to be. This is going to be my fate. How can Ling Hucheng be greedy and be afraid of death? How can I commit a big violation over this when I'm originally sincere? After he mulled over this matter in his mind, he said, Chief, I would like to consult you on a matter I still don't understand. My master said that the sunflower scripture is the most supreme martial arts secret. No one will be able to match you in the whole world after learning this martial art. He said your life would also be prolonged to over 100 years. How come you didn't learn this martial art and instead learn that dangerously fierce arts of essence absorbing? Run Wo-sing weakly smiled and said, I don't think outsiders are worthy enough to know the reason. Ling Hucheng's face turned red when he heard this. He said, yes, I was too bold. Brother, Chief is already old. Your big brother is also only a few years younger than him. If you enter the sect, then Chief's successor will of course be you. I know that you dislike the Sun Moon sect's bad reputation, but when you're chief, wouldn't you have the power in hand to reorganize the sect so that people in this world would benefit from it? Xiang Wenjian logically told Ling Hucheng. Ling Hucheng felt that Xiang Wenjian's speech was logical and reasonable. He was moved. He saw Run Wo-sing pick up his wine cup and with his right hand picked up the wine pot and filled the cup to the brim. Run Wo-sing then said, Several hundred years ago, there was enmity between my Sun Moon sect and the Orthodox sects in the schools. After that, we couldn't coexist anymore. If you adhere stubbornly to this opinion and don't enter our sect when your internal injuries will be difficult to heal and your life isn't guaranteed. This doesn't need to be said. Although, also, I am afraid that your master and master wife of the Huashan school. Hey, I want to make all of Huashan school disciples perish and stamp Huashan school out of existence from the Wulin world. This isn't a hard thing to do at all. It was fate that brought us here together. If you agree with my suggestion, then please drink this cup of wine. These words were said threateningly. Ling Hucheng felt his anger rising up, and in a clear voice he said, Chief, big brother, originally my injuries were enough to shorten my life, and I was only living from day to day. Then I accidentally learned Chief's divine martial art, but now, because I'm unable to meld all the energies together, I might not live long. So it's just like my old injuries. This is no big deal. For a long time, I've already thought my life was unimportant. Dead or alive, I still have my life now. Huashan School has been around for several hundred years and has managed to survive until now. It's not necessarily true that other people can just raise their hands and destroy Huashan School. Today, we've finished our talk. Let us part here. As soon as he finished speaking, he cupped his hands in salute towards the two people, turned around, and left. Xiang Wenjian still had words to say, but Ling Hucheng was already far away. As Ling Huchong, well, he just ran away. That was quick. Xiang Wenjian still had words to say, but Ling Huchong was already far away. As Ling Huchong ran out of the Plum Manor, he felt the cold air brushing his body, and he felt unrestrained in his heart. As he sighed and raised his head, he saw the crescent moon hanging from the tip of a willow branch. In the middle of the lake, he could see reflections of the bright moon and the clouds on the water. When he reached the bank of the lake, he stood there quietly for some time and thought. Chief Run must now be going to Dongfang Bubai to settle the matter concerning the position of chief. He wouldn't search for Huashan school straight away to bring them trouble. But master, wife, and the martial arts brothers and sisters didn't know about this matter. If they meet him, they may suffer under his violent hands. I must tell them as soon as possible so that they can be prepared, but I don't know whether they've returned from Fuzhou or not. From here, it's not that far to Fuzhou. I don't have anything else to do. I'll just go to Fuzhou for a trip. If they're on their way back, then maybe I'll meet them on the way. His thoughts immediately turned to the letter his master wrote to the Wulin world. In that letter, his master announced that he'd been expelled from the Huashan school. A sour feeling rose up in his heart as he remembered this. He thought to himself, I'm going to report to master and master wife about Chief Run, compelling me to join his sect. They will understand that I didn't intentionally make friends with people from the Devil sect. Maybe master will take back his command and will only punish me to spend 3 years on top of that cliff thinking about my fault. If that's the case, then it's going to be good. Thinking that there may be a chance to re-enter the school, his spirit rose. He immediately started off to look for an inn to stay overnight. He felt that he would be able to sleep long until noon this time. Then he thought that, as he hadn't seen master and master wife, it would be better to hide his original appearance. Furthermore, Ying Ying gave orders to those people to take his life, so he felt it'd be best to disguise himself and not look for trouble. But what appearance should he take on for his disguise? As he was deep in thought, he arrived at an inn. He walked slowly to the inn. Just as he entered the courtyard, he suddenly heard the sound of a door being opened and a basin full of water splashed towards him. He evaded quickly, and the basin emptied out. In front of him was an angry-looking military officer glaring at him, holding a wooden wash basin. The officer rudely shouted, "Did you not bring your eyes? Didn't you see grandfather throwing water out?" Ling Huchong was feeling angry. He couldn't believe that such an unruly and unreasonable man existed. With a fine, thick beard, this military officer looked like he was around 40 years old. He was wearing a full-body military gown, and there was a Yao Dao saber on his waist. Ling Huchong thought that he was probably an officer from a military school. With his chest flat and his belly bulging out, he looked accustomed to the good living. That military officer loudly shouted, "What are you looking at? Don't you recognize your granddad?" Ling Huchong suddenly got an inspiration. Why don't I disguise myself as this military officer? He's quite interesting. I'll be walking around Jianghu in an impressive disguise. People in Wulin won't even give me a second look. That military officer shouted loudly again, "What are you laughing at? Your granny, what's so funny?" Oh, your granny? What's so funny? I guess your granny is a swear word now. Ling Huchong unconsciously smiled, feeling proud of himself. When he went to the counter to pay for a room and meal, he whispered to the innkeeper, "What's the background of that military officer?" The shopkeeper frowned at his question, but he still answered, "Who knows where he comes from? He came from Beijing and has stayed here for one night. The servants served him 3 meals already. He's also ordered a good quantity of good wine and good meat. Don't know if he's going to pay or not. Ling Huchong nodded and walked into the tea house. He brewed a lot of tea and slowly drank it. After waiting for an hour, he heard the sound of a horse trotting. That military officer was going out of the inn on a red jujube-colored horse. While lashing his horsewhip, making a pie sound, he was loudly bellowing, "Make way! Make way! Your granny, hurry up and get away!" A few people were too slow getting out of his way and got lashed by the whip. Well, this guy's a dick. Ling Huchong already paid for his tea, so he got up and followed the horse. He saw the officer exiting from the west gate and galloping away on the southwesterly road. After a few li, there were less and less people on the road, so Ling Huchong quickened his steps. He rushed to the front of the horse and raised his right hand. The horse was frightened and reared at him, causing that officer to almost fall from the horse. Ling Huchong shouted loudly, "Your granny, didn't you bring your eyes? Your horse almost kicked this old man to death." That officer didn't open his mouth, but he looked indignant and snorted 3 times. Wait, the officer snorted 3 times? What's up with that? That's weird. He waited till his horse's front foot dropped back down before he selected a whip and lashed out towards Ling Huchong's head. He saw that it's inconvenient to settle this matter on the main road, so he shouted, "Ayo!" and staggered into the forest. That officer wasn't willing to just let Ling Huchong go like that, so he dismounted his horse and quickly tied the horse's rein on a tree. He was madly impatient to start chasing. Ling Huchong shouted, "Ayo! I want my mommy!" as he fled into the forest. That military officer started pursuing and raised a clamor as he was running through the forest. Suddenly, he felt a tingling sensation on the side of his body and fell down on the ground. Ling Huchong's left foot stepped on his chest and laughingly said, "Your granny, your skill isn't good. How can you march to war?" He searched the officer's bosom and took out a big envelope. On the envelope was the seal of the Ministry of War office on red vermilion and a written word, "Announcement," in big letters. He opened the letter and took out a thick paper. It was the Ministry of War office's appointment order. Written on it was the promotion of Heibei's Tangzhou Prefecture's officer Wuxia to become Fujian's Changzhou Prefecture's general. Wow. That's quite the sentence. Ling Huchong laughed and said, "Oh, it's Big General, so you're Wu Tiande." That officer was pinned underneath Ling Huchong's foot, and his face started to turn purple. "Let me get up, quickly! You very daring, insulting a government official. You're not afraid of the law?" shouted that officer. Although he was shouting, his anger had long been exhausted. Smiling, Ling Huchong said, Your old man doesn't have anything to tie you up with, but I want to borrow your clothes to try on." After saying so, he knocked out the officer by hitting him on the head with his palm. He then quickly took the officer's clothes off. Thinking that this guy was hateful, he decided to teach him a lesson and took off all his underwear, leaving the officer buck naked on the ground. Good job. He then picked up the officer's bundle and opened it. Inside, there were several hundred silver taels and 3 gold coins. He thought, this must have been taken away from good and honest people. It's going to be hard to return these to the owners. I'll just have to use it to buy wine for my General Wu Tiande. He chuckled as he thought of this. Immediately, he took off his clothes and put on the officer's clothes, leather boots, and Yao Dao saber. He also took the bundle with him. Afterwards, using a strip of his own clothes, he tied the officer's hands to a tree and stuffed his mouth full of mud. He thought for a while and took his knife out to shave the officer's beard and put those shaved beard in his bosom. He smiled and remarked, "You've changed to a pretty face now. You've become much more beautiful." Nice job. He tied this guy to a tree naked. When he got back to the main road, he untied the horse's rein and mounted it. He lashed out with the whip and shouted, "Make way, your granny, didn't you bring your eyes? Ha 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 ha." Laughing loudly, he galloped away to the south. That same night, he arrived at an inn at the border area of Hangzhou. The shopkeeper and servant at that inn greeted him with army officer, army officer. Army officer, army officer. At daybreak, Ling Wuchong asked the shopkeeper the road to Fujian. After receiving 5 taels of silver, the shopkeeper and his servant accompanied him while bowing all the way to the door. Ling Wuchong thought, "You guys are fortunate that you met my general. If you had actually met the real general Wu Qiande, you would have certainly suffered." After leaving the inn, he went to a store and bought a face mirror and a bottle of glue water. Once he got outside the city, he looked for a desolated place. Once he got there, he took out the mirror and carefully glued the shaved beard on his face. This took him around an hour. When he checked himself in the mirror, his cheek was full of fine, thick beard, and he couldn't help but laugh at himself. Oh, great. Now he's doing cosplay. He put a friggin' beard on himself. On the way south, he reached Jinhua Prefecture and arrived at the prefecture office. In this area, he found it hard to understand the southern accent, but it was good that he was dressed in a military attire because people started talking to him in a more formal manner, which made him able to understand them much better. In his whole life, he's never had this much money before, so he kept ordering wine and drank to his heart's content. The many different internal energies that he had were circulating throughout the meridians in his body. Not a trace of it was leaving his body. When suddenly an energy stream rushed towards his Dantian region, making him dizzy, seeing stars and wanting to vomit. This was Mr. Blackwhite's chi. He felt the pain was even more unbearable than before. Whenever this happened, he only had to follow the method written by Ren Wo-sing on the iron panel and expel the chi out from the Dantian region. After the chi was emptied, then his chi would become smooth, and he would feel vigorous immediately. If he followed this practice every time this happened, he knew that his energy would also increase by a level, but he would also be deeper in trouble by 1 level. He was always upbeat in his thinking. I already got my life back. Living for just 1 more day, even for 1 more minute, is already good. He calmed down straight away. That afternoon, he entered the Shanxia mountain range. The area was rugged, and as he went on, he got higher and higher and could see less and less smoke from the mountain people's habitation. He rode on for another 20 li, and no house was around anymore. He knew straight away that he had made a mistake by going past the last inn, so now he had to stay the nights on the road with robbers around the area. The night was getting darker as he picked up a fruit and ate it. He then spotted a small cave underneath the cliff. It looked dry and seemed as if there were not many bugs inside to bother him, so he tied his horse's rein on a tree and let it eat some grass while he went to collect some dry grass to spread inside the cave. He felt that the chi in his dantian wasn't relaxed, so he sat down to meditate. With more practice, Run Xing's divine martial art was going to get even harder to restrain, and he was going to feel uncomfortable more often. Then he finished meditating. His whole body felt relaxed and light. It was as if he was on a cloud. He then expelled the breath in his mouth, stood up, and smiled bitterly. That day when I asked Chief Run how come he still wanted to learn the art of essence absorbing when he already had the sunflower manual in his possession, he didn't answer willingly, but now I understand why. This art of essence absorbing, after you practiced it, you won't be able to give it up. After reaching this conclusion, he couldn't help but feel frightened. I heard Master Wife said that before about the Meow people raising poisonous evil things. Even when they knew it was evil, it was hard to give up. If they don't use poisonous bugs to harm people, then the bugs would harm the host's body. In the future, will I become just like those Meow people? When he walked out of the cave, he saw a lot of stars in the sky and heard the chirping of insects. Suddenly, he heard people coming towards the mountain. It seemed that they're still quite far away, but his internal energy allowed him to hear further. Immediately, he went to his horse, loosened its reins, hit its back to make the horse move into the cave. He then hid himself behind a tree. After some time, he heard the steps coming closer. The light from the stars allowed him to see many people with black gowns and yellow waistbands walking along. From the outfits, he reckoned that they were people from the Devil's sect. There were more than 30 people in the group, and none of them spoke a word. Ling Huchang thought, they seem to be going south towards Fujian. I wonder if they have anything to do with my Huashan school. Have they received orders from Chief Run to cause trouble for Master and Master Wife? He waited until those people were gone far enough before he quietly followed. After he had walked for several li, the mountain road became really steep. He then saw the two mountain peaks besides each other with a very narrow mountain road going through the middle. It would be impossible for two people to go up side by side on this road. Those dirty people were climbing through the pass in single file. Ling Huchang thought, if I were to follow them up now, it's possible that once they reach the top, one of them might accidentally turn his head around and see me. So he quickly hid himself in the bushes to wait for them to finish climbing the slope and to start going down the slope before he started chasing again. But when these people reached the peak of the slope, they suddenly scattered and hid themselves behind the mountain rocks. Not a single shadow was seen. Ling Huchang was frightened. The first thing that entered his mind was, they saw me, but he knew immediately that he was wrong. He considered further. They're going to ambush people who will go up the slope. That must be it. This is the perfect place to plan an ambush. Whoever climbed up here would have trouble escaping. Who are they trying to ambush? If Master and Master Wife had gone back to the north, what urgent matter do they still have? Do they have to go back to Fujian that they thought that they would be walking through here at night? It's a long sentence. If Master and Master Wife had gone back to the north, what urgent matter do they have to go back to Fujian that they would be walking through here at night? Will I see my little martial sister tonight? As his thoughts turned to Yue Lingshan, his whole body became hot. He quietly stepped away from the bushes. After he had gained a bit of distance away from the mountaintop, he quickly dashed down from the mountain. After several bends, he turned around and couldn't see the mountain slope anymore. He then headed back north, away from the mountain pass. He scampered along the road while trying to listen if anyone was coming towards him. After 10 or more li, he suddenly heard voices from a hillside on the left. Ling Huchang is a dirty rascal. You're still defending him. And that's it. Done. Done. Did you guys like that? Did you guys like that chapter? I feel like a lot of things happened and we learned a lot of stuff. So this Run Xing guy was the previous chief of the Sun Moon sect, right? Or the Demon sect. Or as they call it now, the Devil sect. Okay. Yeah, I think we're working with several different translations. So he was a previous chief of the sect, and he was replaced by this Dongfeng Bubai guy, or Dongfeng Invincible. And now it looks like the chief escaped. All right, he was kept there. He escaped, and now he wants his job back. Right. And looks like even though Ling Huchong kind of cured his illness, he still has a problem because this new martial arts that he just learned has a flaw, right? And it would be, yeah. So the chief, I guess the flaw is going to kill him too. I think. So the chief fixed this flaw in his when he trained, right? But he didn't teach this technique yet to Ling Huchong. So and he will and he will only teach him if Ling Huchong agrees to join the sect. So yeah. Wait, you love this chapter because it was very erotic? What was erotic about the chapter? I didn't think anything was erotic. I don't know if you noticed, my voice was going near for the last like half an hour. I was having problems with reading. I feel like I wasn't reading very clearly. Yes, and Ling Huchong stole a man's clothes. 2 people died, right? I feel bad for the 4 playfellows of Jiannan. They didn't really do anything wrong. They were just very into the arts. But yeah, now 2 of them died, and 2 of them are basically enslaved to this Mr. Ren. The part where he glued hair to his face was erotic. Okay. Hey, you like what you like, right? I'm not gonna judge. All right. I have some sake. Look at that. Yeah, this is what we're gonna drink. We finished the wine bottle. I actually use this to cook, but it's what I have, so I'm gonna drink it now. I don't think I'll drink a whole shot, just a little bit. Yeah. All right, cheers. It's terrible. Oh god. All right. I'm just gonna keep using it for cooking from now on instead of drinking. Yeah. It didn't taste good at all. What does sake taste like? Honestly, all liquor tastes the same to me. Sake tastes like any other liquor, okay? Honestly. I can barely tell the difference. But it's not that good. Not that good. Don't buy this for drinking. Yeah, don't buy this for drinking. What's up, Gendor? Oh, I'm glad you like the channel. Thank you so much. All right, I think we're done. All right, thanks for joining. All right, this was a long chapter. I think next week it's another short chapter, so we'll be good. All right, guys, thanks for joining. I love you. Bye. I will go to the liquor store and buy something else.